Good morning, do 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 do. Good morning to you. All right, well, I am gonna do some Whoopsie Daisy stories this morning. And just to encourage you guys to get on the microdosing WhatsApp group and try these with buddies and know that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be your own Whoopsie Daisy story. And so I'm going to give you some examples of like one of mine, one from a friend. One is even my mom's favorite joke. It has a little Whoopsie Daisy story built into it. But just to give you some ideas of anything you can use. And the idea is to dose your brain and connect and use that prefrontal cortex to be telling a story and putting pieces together. I promise it gets easier and easier. And it is a solid go-to in my laughter group. Some person will come in with one Whoopsie Daisy story and everybody is primed their brain so that then somebody else goes, oh, you know what that makes me think of? And you'll start seeing all the humor around you, as well as helping you laugh at life's inconveniences or, shenanigans that happen along the way. So let me set my little timer. Also, a really good thing to do when you're getting used to sharing Whoopsie Daisy stories with friends and buddies is to, if you're doing it for like a 5-minute dose your brain thing and you're new to it, you may not be quite as hair triggered to start to laugh as I am, is to start off with a 1-minute laughter flow just to get your brain going. And then while you're listening to your friend tell their story or while you're telling yours, they can laugh. But to laugh, kind of choose to laugh along the way and get yourself sort of primed up and going. So let's start with our own little laughter flow. And for those of you who've been visiting with me other mornings, you know that I have done a lot to dose the baseline of my brain so I can go into laughter pretty darn easy. When I think about my mom's favorite joke and her laughing. So let's do the laughter flow together and just join in, choose to laugh, and eventually the spontaneous laughter will kick in. I think of my best friend Darren when I'd say, choose to laugh. He'd look at me like, It's a little bit like, if you have to, you could do sort of fake it till you make it, because that diaphragmatic, just if you go ha 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 ha, still releases positive neurotransmitters in your brain. And eventually get to where laughing comes much more easily. Okay. Well, we've done, gotten our brains primed a little bit, and then you can share a story, either something silly that happened to you, well, I could tell a story for that. I was talking to a friend. I was visiting my brother who lives in an amazing place. He lives in Aspen, Colorado. Fabulous place to go visit your brother. And I was hiking on this trail in the morning, and it was beautiful, so beautiful. And I was talking to my friend Danielle, talking, right, like this. I had on noise-canceling headphones. I was hiking along, but I could hear her talking to me, and I was talking to her. And it's pretty early, not many other people out on the trail, and it's kind of a switchback trail up a mountain, so you don't really see other people. And so I am up in the mountain, and I'm talking to her, and a man walks along the trail this way. And I'm coming from up, and I'm going down. So I haven't been down to this part, and it looks like he's really far away. And so I start telling her, oh, he's a very handsome man. And I said, oh, the native species is out. and I start describing this guy to her. And little did I know, with his noise-canceling headphones on and the crunch, crunch, crunch of the gravel, that he walks up like, I really should have been able to feel his breath. He was so close. Before I turned and realized he was right there, I was like, "Ooh, whoopsie daisy!" But then it gets better. I proceed to stand there and laugh with my friend and talk with her on the phone, looking at this beautiful view as this guy takes off, hikes up the mountain. But I don't realize that maybe that's a sign. I need to be a little quieter, a little more sotto voce. So I then start telling her, somehow we got onto the topic of characters from Sesame Street. And now I'm singing the Sesame Street theme song, and the same guy comes back down the trail. This time, he is laughing so hard. Like, the first one was funny, and it was a little bit like an awkward start. This one, he stops to talk to me because it is so ridiculously funny to walk up on somebody singing the Sesame Street theme song. So it works out. Ended up being a nice guy. So that's the kind of thing, where I could have in the past might have been really embarrassed, or but I've learned that laughter usually just spreads the good stuff. And so that's an example of using one of my own. But I can also tell you a story from a friend. She and I were talking on the phone, and you think I'm boy crazy because she's a wonderful husband who I really enjoy, and she lives up north, and we were talking about being wooed. She's like, I was like, well, down in the South, women like to be wooed. And she's like, oh, yeah, no, all women like to be wooed. She's just like, how do you drag that out when you say it is the only difference. But she's like, oh, yeah, it's wonderful to be wooed. Well, little did we know, her husband overheard our conversation from the kitchen. So the next morning, she wakes up, and her husband's looking at her sweetly. And then all of a sudden, he yanks back the covers and takes a good gander at her and says, woohoo! And puts the cover down. And she's just like, what was that? And he said, well, I heard you and Winston talking and saying that women like to be wooed. Woohoo! He wooed her. But, it's pretty good. Have somebody take a gander at you and give a good woohoo. Okay, so now we'll finish with my mom's favorite joke. And maybe sometime I'll get her on camera to tell it because it's extra sweet when she tells it. But it's about two sweet boys growing up. They're growing up in the country, kind of close around to this parts, but not right here. And their names were Ernest and Buford. And Ernest and Buford were good. Oh, I'm going into my character Pearl. I'll bring her back to visit y'all sometime. But I'll try and speak in a normal voice so that there's more audience awareness of what I'm saying. I can drop into that deep southern. It can be real confusing. That'll definitely bring her back. That's a fun thing to add into your laughter flows and into your day. It's just your own characters. But back to Mama's joke. Ernest and Buford are a little bit mischievous. And they're also, obliged to go to church every Sunday. And this Sunday, Ernest is called into the preacher's office. Now the preacher says, Ernest, I have a serious question for you. And Ernest is thinking, this is exactly what the principal does about once a week. Calls me and Buford into his office, and it's a problem. So he's on his guard. He's prickling around in his seat, Jazzbo jimming his motions, but he's trying to look innocent. Like, oh, what did I do this time? Because, they're a little bit of troublemakers. Just the fun kind, but So, preacher says again, Ernest, where is God? I can't seem to leave Pearl at home. Where is God? And Ernest says, where's God? Where's God? And he starts to get really anxious. And the preacher gets more worked up that he's not getting an answer. And he says, Ernest, where is God? And Ernest says, and just bolts out of the church and beelines home and goes to his next door neighbor, Buford, his best buddy, and says, hey, meet me down by the creek. We're going to have to get out of here. We're in some big trouble this time. And so they meet down at the creek. And Buford says, what happened? And Ernest says, they can't find God and they think we took him. Yeah, you may have to have grown up in the South for that one to have resonance, but that's okay. Whoopsie Daisy. So that's the idea. And then you can end with a 1-minute laughter flow. So let's do that together. Just to get your brain good and dosed this morning. Where's God? Whoopsie Daisy! Woohoo! Wonderful way to woo his wife. And then after we use any of our microdosing tools, it's really nice to take 3 gentle breaths and just let that dose chemistry from our brain saturate into our body. Just peace, joy. Well, I hope that helped give you some examples of how to start dipping your toe in. You could even retell any of the ones I just did, if any of them resonate, or your own twist on it. And just keep the laughter going and the storytelling going and the connecting going. And watch your brain state rise. You've got this. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.